right, so we're just now about to end, as we film this video, we're just now about to end our winter cycle, and we're going to transition into our season prep. What is important about this time of year, this little transition?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is that people need to start training if they want to get ready for the Open or quarterfinals. You know, everyone kind of waits until the last second and they get really hyped up and they only have a few weeks to train. Right now is a really good time because CrossFit's pushed everything back. So we have a full 8-week training cycle before the Open that we're going to start on January 1st.
Yeah. How much extra time did that build into the season when they did make the change?
It pushed it back 3 weeks. So we have like a full 8-week training cycle. And that means you have to be ready. Like the turnaround is fast, right? So like you're going to have fun over the holidays, but on January 1st, we're starting our next cycle and we're going to prep for it.
And how does the training actually change for this phase of the year?
Yeah.
Season?
We've talked about this in other videos. Like we are very strategic with the way that we plan our training. And as soon as we get into the off season, we're thinking about base building and strength and taking care of all the limitations that athletes have. Now, as we move back into like true season prep, which is this first cycle is truly prepping you for the Open and then into quarterfinals, we're doing more CrossFit-based work, more strength endurance-based work that's going to look like CrossFit, like kind of the chaos that you see in a 15-minute AMRAP into build to a heavy lift, as opposed to it just being like very structured and linear strength progressions and structured like limitation progressions in CrossFit.
And why does that matter?
It's just like any other sport, right? Like I played football my whole life. In the off season, I'm working on my hand positions and my footwork and how to block better, how to catch better. But eventually I have to actually play the game. And so the same thing's true here in CrossFit, where you want to work on all the technical stuff, which we still will do during this time of year, but more focus needs to be put into the actual what I call scrimmaging of the sport, practicing the sport that you play. In the same way with football, once we got into the season, like we were going full speed, running plays, having to tackle people, block people, catch the ball in a chaotic setting to be good at the game. And so the same thing's true with CrossFit. Like to be good at the game, you have to practice the game.
Yeah, I guess because speaking about me personally, is like I just trust you guys coaching that y'all know what you're doing. So I'm not too curious about what it is because I just assume y'all have done it for 10 plus years and you know what you're doing at this point. But what is like, I guess another way to ask might be like, how would I mess this time of the year up? Like what if I don't pay attention, if I don't do correctly, could I set myself up to not have, you know, we're talking about people who want to compete. So they probably want to do their best. No one wants to do worse than last year, but how would I mess this time of year up?
Yeah, I think it's probably just one of the two extremes. Either you aren't going hard enough where everything is still like technically based. So, I need to get better at my Olympic lift. So I'm just going to do lower percentages and just practice on my technique. You could do that in the off season. That's a really important thing. We want to build that technical base, and that's why we did that in the off season. But now we need to start doing more lifts that look like the sport, you know, doing shuttle runs and burpees into 10 snatches for time, or doing heavy lifts under fatigue in another AMRAP style setting. And then the other side of that coin is people that just go too hard too soon. So we are trying to find the balance in between that of like, we have multiple days per week where we'll go really hard. We're going to push you. We're going to do a lot of strength endurance work, like I said, or CrossFit style work, but we still need to have that technical time as well. So if you're the athlete that always is going hard, it's like 10 Metcons a week and you're doing a bunch of heavy lifting and you're burnt out after 3 weeks. Or if you're the athlete that's like overly technical, both of those are dangerous games to play this time of year because now we only have 8 weeks before the Open.
And how do y'all in this upcoming cycle help me flip the switch on days that I need to be, you know, in that headspace versus days that I'm not?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way that we set it up is we have a daily training video that tells you exactly what the intent, target, and feel are for those days. And for those that don't want to watch the videos or see all of our ugly faces on there, it's also written into the notes. So like if you see the training day, right below that, it says intent, target, feel. And it will say in that intent and target especially, this is the goal of the session. Some days this is all technically based. We want you to work only on your footwork on the rope climb. And then another day where it's a hard Metcon, this is a true test in the CrossFit setting. We want you to go as hard as possible. And then we also give them steps, right? Like we are putting out some new podcasts in a couple of weeks where we talk about how to pace, how to come up with a better execution plan for the training session, and then how to do video review. We are also telling our athletes in Compete to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. So just from a coaching perspective, like what excites you about this time of year when you get to sit down and write the actual programming? Like what's exciting?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing is that we actually can test all the things that we've been practicing. And that's even more so when we get to quarterfinals because that's where most people's goals are. But we've been practicing all year, or we've been building to this time of year doing all the hard strength work, the linear progressions that we've had to get people PRs and, PR their clean and jerk, PR their snatch, or get stronger in their back squat or deadlift. And the same thing, like people that didn't have handstand push-ups, we got them handstand push-ups. People that didn't have ring muscle-ups, we got them ring muscle-ups. But now we actually get to test that. We actually get to do the 5 rounds for time or the hard open style workout or quarterfinal workout and see how much better people have gotten. And that's cool.
Yeah. So if I'm new and I'm listening to this and I was thinking about coming on board, I'm probably hearing you and I'm thinking, no, not probably. I'm definitely hearing you and be like, well, shit, I just missed all that good stuff that you're talking about. So is this a bad time to jump in? Or if I'm in that boat where I'm kind of, maybe either I don't have a program I'm following right now or I'm thinking about changing, what do I think about this? Can I jump in now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a couple things. One, yes. 2, it's better late than never. Like you could jump in now and you're still going to get a lot of benefit out of it. But 3, the truth is that anybody that's been training all year is going to be in a better space because they've worked on all of those things. And that's not just in our program. That's any program. Like you don't want to take 6 months off and then try to jump back in. Taking some time off in the off season makes sense. But regardless of that fact, this time of year, we're still working on all the base building stuff too. We have options in our training program. We have extra credit 3 days a week, which is going to be that base building kind of technical aspect that we talked about. We'll do some rope climb work. We're going to do some L-sit and handstand hold work. We're going to have a rowing progression in there for those that need to get better at rowing. So all of those things are still there on top of the 20 plus skill programs that we have. So for the athlete that maybe is like, oh shoot, he talked about handstand push-ups, but I still don't have handstand push-ups. Perfect, man. We have that skill program for you to get better at it, and our intermediate path is going to build that handstand push-up capacity.
So I guess talk about that because I think, I've seen a lot of the different programs out there. I've been in some in the past. I feel like one of the things we do different is having those skill-based options that you could add in. So it's not just assuming that I have everything, but that involves some level of awareness and or tweaking. How do y'all actually work that out in the program?
Yeah. I always say one of the, deficiencies of group programming is the inability to individualize.
You say deficiency?
Yeah, a deficiency. An issue, probably the biggest issue with group programming in general is the inability to individualize for an athlete's needs. What we've done to combat that is to build these skill programs plus extra credit work where athletes can still individualize their training program based on their needs. So for an athlete that needs handstand push-ups, to my example earlier, or maybe needs to work on chest to bars or any of those skills, they can easily toggle that on and it uploads to their timeline. So in our app, you'll see immediately once you toggle on handstand push-ups, it's right there for you on the training day so that you can continue to get better at that skill. And the nice thing is when you come on board, we give you all that information. So you'll get an email that shows you exactly how to do that, which ones to add, if you want to add certain ones. And then,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. How do I know, like y'all will help me figure out what I need to do?
Exactly. And the other thing too is like I definitely pride all of our coaches. What we do is we communicate with our athletes. Like we're in the program all of the time. We send direct messages to our athletes and we're there to help. So if they have a question on like, I'm not sure, I suck at handstand push-ups and chest to bars, which one should I do first? We'll help you navigate that on and put on which day to put those on.
Okay. And so that was the skill works that you could add in addition. The next thing I was going to ask is, so we've been talking about this time of year. Now the way our program works is you have 4 main paths, which is intermediate, RX, elite, and masters. Is it different for each of those right now, or are they all pretty similar? Does it vary?
Yeah, the template is very similar because we're all working toward the same thing, which is going to be the open. And then in future training cycles, when like things change for, let's say, quarterfinals or semifinals, then those really break off. And we can talk about that when we get there. But this time of year, everyone's focused on the open, and we know that everyone's going to do the same workouts. Now, when you get to Masters 55 plus, for example, the workout's going to be a little bit different. So we have a modification for our Masters that are 55 plus, and the training looks slightly different within the actual timeline because maybe they're not doing heavy snatches on a certain day. Maybe we're doing some technical work plus something else with the, maybe snatch technique or back squats. But the actual training template, today we're going to do snatch work, some back squats, and this Metcon looks the same from path to path. And the reason we do that is so that athletes can graduate from one path to the next. So for example, maybe you're an intermediate because you're working on your ring muscle-ups. You get your ring muscle-ups and you have all the other RX numbers and you get halfway through the open cycle. Now you can easily just go straight into RX training path because you have all those things and you're still following the same progressions, which makes it easy as opposed to like having it all broken up. Okay, so another thing, comparing to other things out in the field. So a lot of the places I have not seen having these different level-based paths. Now, they might have modifications and scaling, but it's just usually like a note like, hey, adjust this or whatever. Why do y'all choose to do it this way? What's the benefit? we want to be able to individualize as best as we can for the athlete. So we have these options so the athlete can fit into the level that they're at, and then also make sure that they're peaking at the right time. So this year's going to be a little bit different. Like everyone's going to do the same open workouts, and then everyone will do the same quarterfinal workouts, including masters, which has been different in the past. But we know that some people are still fighting to make the top 25%, for example, or last year, which was even tighter, the top 10%. So our intermediate path will focus on testing and retesting the open workouts to make sure that you get to quarterfinals. Whereas our RX path is only going to do those workouts once with a focus on peaking for quarterfinals. So we give you these different paths with similar templates, but different peaking structures based on what your goal is. If you know that you're going to make quarterfinals without a shadow of a doubt, and your whole goal is to be as good as possible at quarterfinals, our RX path makes sense because we're going to peak for quarterfinals. Our intermediate path is going to have a peak for the open to make sure that we get as many people into quarterfinals as possible. And then we'll take a little bit of a deload after that for 1 week. And then we'll peak again for quarterfinals for those that make it.
So we tend to program for the people who that they say they want what their goal is and their actions back it up. Yeah. What do you say for the person who might just be a little more recreational, weekend warrior, where it's like, I want to be good, but it's not, my actions aren't going to back it up. And I'm not saying that in a slight, but it's just like, this is more so the fun thing I like to do and the way I like to train, but I'm not actually concerned about getting into quarterfinals or semifinals, but I want to just train hard. And how do y'all talk to those people at this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard for me to wrap my brain around, to be completely honest, because when people say they have a goal, like I want for them what they say that they want for themselves. And that means that you have to really put focus and like true intent into the training program. So I always tell people, look, even if you aren't really concerned with the skill programs, the extra credit, and you just want to have some fun with your CrossFit and get a little bit better, just follow the training path as is. Don't add any of the extra credit. Don't add any of the skill programs, and you'll still notice some success. Once people taste that success, like, I had someone the other day, I've been doing CrossFit for 6 years and have been struggling with my ring muscle ups. Every single year I get a couple, but then they kind of fall off in the off season. I finally came on to the intermediate path back in May, and now I can do 6, 7 unbroken. I feel confident. That person now has buy-in to where they're pushing harder than they ever have because they saw success. And I think once people taste that, then they're more focused. So I always just tell people, look, do the work and stay focused on it. Have some like really small micro goals, but then obviously still just enjoy the process. Once you do that, you have some success. I think you get better that way.
Now, I know if they go to the website right now, they could see a full cycle overview PDF, what's in that?
It's going to give you a breakdown of what the template will look like, what to expect for extra credit.
Go really in depth on that.
Yeah, so a template basically is telling you what we're working on each day of the week. So we train 5 training days per week, plus we have mobility each day of the week for 6 days, except for Sunday. So what that will tell you is like, hey, Monday, this is what we're working on in all our training paths. Let's just say squat, snatch, back squats, and then we have a high-powered Metcon, and then here's our extra credit work. Tuesday, same thing. It'll give you all the breakdown.
Yeah. Like the outline of the training.
The outline of the training. I think that, for some people, they really like the details. And what that does is give you the details where you just know exactly what to expect when you get into the training come January.
Yeah. And then next to that, there will also be an option to view a sample week.
Yep. And so that basically will give you a full breakdown of what an actual week looks like. And the cool thing there is that you can see an elite training week where they have multiple sessions per day, a master's training week, an RX training week, an intermediate training week. Give you an idea of kind of how they vary and also how they look the same this time of year. Because the reality is this time of year, it is much more, they look much more the same through the open than any other time of the year. In the off season, they're very different based on the goals or the needs of the athletes.
Yep. And now the difference between that sample week PDF is that once you actually sign up for the program, you'll be in our app, which is done through WattUp. What's the benefit for being in the app?
I think 2 things. There's probably more than this, but the 2 big ones is logging your results so you actually have something that you can go back and lean on. So, for example, if we do a test and a retest, week 1, you do a heavy front squat, and then week 8, you do a heavy front squat, it pulls it up for you. So then it can like auto filter and you know exactly what your goal is for that day. And then the other one is community. I think that this is, most people kind of, they enjoy training, but then they don't realize how important the community, the accountability is. And we have such a great group of athletes in there that they all hold each other accountable. But also the cool thing is like people travel all the time. They post in our water cooler, which is basically like our
chat room,
but it's on the main timeline. Hey, I'm going to Orlando, Florida this weekend. Anybody have a gym there? And somebody will pipe up and say, hey, come work out with me today. And that's so cool to me.
Yeah. And you can bug Brandon as much as you want.
Yeah, exactly. Ask questions on there. We'll answer those for you.
I think also too, if you're coming from somewhere else, the training that we do could look a little different. So obviously you got the movement demos in the app as well. So when you're viewing the sample week, if you're like, what the hell is that? When you're in there, it'll be made clear.
So for those that haven't been in the app yet, when you open it up, there's a little eye icon right next to any movement. So if let's just say it says back squats and you'll see this little dot that has an eye in it, you click on that and a video populates for you. So to your point, Chris, yeah, you can see all those demos.
All right. So if they want all the details anymore, go to the website right now. You can get the overview in the sample week. Anything else we missed?
I think that's it. I would just encourage people, and it doesn't even have to be our program. Like if you're serious about CrossFit, you need to be training right now. So we want people to succeed, and that means get on a good training program, stick with it. Stick with it, push yourself, and you're going to see yourself get better.
And then is there any specials right now for like sign up? Like, are we still doing a 3-month or 6 month
Heck
thing?
yeah. So you get a discount. You get a 15% discount if you sign up for 3 months, or a 10% discount for 3 months, 15% for 6 months, and a 20% discount if you sign up for a year. And then you get a free shirt too if you sign up for 6 months or a year.
Nice. And if I sign up for 3 years, what do I get?
Ooh, maybe a hoodie. I will give you this. By the way, zoom in on this if you have the camera.
All right.
Can you see this stain?
That's all no, I can't. What is it?
Oh man,
ravioli?
No, it's coffee. So this morning I was drinking my coffee and I put it down and the string dropped in my coffee mug and I didn't realize it. I was talking to my wife.
Oh no!
And then I pulled it out and it was just like dripping all over the place. Anyhow, that's not that funny, is it?
All right. We'll see you later.
See ya.